Viofo's A229 team is a 2-channel run cam that records utilizing a front camera and a different back camera that adheres to the back window in your vehicle. It's the arrangement a great many people ought to select. A solitary channel run cam that records just what occurs in front won't help assuming somebody hits you from behind. The A229 couple is the development to the A129 team that I evaluated back in 2019. While the front camera looks fundamentally indistinguishable, there are a considerable amount of changes and overhauls. For a beginning, the two cameras presently record at 2560 by 1440 pixels, otherwise called 2 Kelvin or Quad HD rather than 1920 by 1080. It implies there's more detail in the picture, which can help on the off chance that you want to peruse the enrollment or tag of another vehicle. There's additionally double-band Wi-Fi, and the acquaintance of 5 GHz with the standard 2.4 GHz band implies that recordings can be downloaded to your telephone multiple times quicker than utilizing 2.4 GHz. The new back camera involves the slimmer plan as seen on Viofo's T130, and the link that interfaces it to the front camera utilizes Persuade rather than USB, permitting it to be generally around 50% of the breadth. And that makes it a lot simpler to introduce behind you vehicle's trim boards. Highlights in plan: 2 Kelvin goal front and back, occasion recognition, time pass and low bitrate stopping modes, inherent GPS and double-band Wi-Fi. As referenced, the front camera involves a similar plan as large numbers of Viofo's other dashcams. The wedge approach functions admirably in light of the fact that it implies it fits pleasantly behind most back view, reflects yet at the same time permits it to hold a screen, so you can see what the cameras see, as well as exploring film without requiring a cell phone and the Viofo application. There are a couple of minor contrasts. The microSD opening is presently on the right-hand side, and it utilizes a USB-C connector rather than the old small USB. The screen isn't a touchscreen, and albeit the 3 focal buttons are stamped rec. Furthermore, they bend over as route and choice controls, and the menu framework is shockingly simple to utilize. You could rather utilize the Viofo application to associate with the A229 couple through Wi-Fi and change the settings much more without any problem. You'll need to empower the stopping modes as they're off as a matter of course, and you should change the brief circling to 1 moment, predominantly in view of the tremendous document sizes produced. Keep in 2 Kelvin at typical quality produces around 800 megabytes each moment, 430 megabytes for the front camera, and 340 megabytes for the back. On the off chance that you're asking for what reason they're not something very similar, this is on the grounds that the back records at around 16 Mbps, while the front is 22 Mbps. Quality isn't indistinguishable. It's quite important that Viofo does exclude a microSD card, so financial plan for a decent quality one that can deal with constant recording. Viofo's own cards utilize the V30/U3 standard and MLC stockpiling. The two cameras are restricted to 30 FPS, yet it's anything but a tremendous issue not to have the option to choose 60 FPS. Having additional gold and additional frames is better. As you'd expect, there are a lot of settings including which data is stepped onto the video. You can overlook speed, area, the Viofo marking, and the date and time. You can likewise add your vehicle's enlistment or some custom text as well. A voice reports while recording has begun each time you begin driving, so even without taking a gander at the screen, you'll know the A229 pair is going about its business. Assuming there's an issue, a tireless signaling will caution you something's off base. For example, that the SD card needs designing, or you've neglected to embed one. Stopping modes. There are a few menu passages for the stopping modes. The fundamental one is stopping recording, which allows you to pick which mode you need to utilize. It's somewhat of a burdensome method for dealing with it. However, you can pick auto occasion identification, 5 time-lapse modes, and low bitrate recording. The last option is the most ideal choice, as it gives you a similar persistent recording as while you're driving, however at a much diminished quality to save money on influence. It actually records sound. Time-lapse is the following most ideal choice as it's like persistent recording, and you can have up to 10 FPS, yet without sound. Occasion recognition is the most power-saving choice, and is cushioned so will record 15 seconds preceding the second the occasion was distinguished, and 30 seconds a short time later. To utilize any of these, the A229 couple should be fueled by Viofo's HK4 hardwire pack, so it can get power from the vehicle's battery when the start is off. This has a slider so you can pick at which voltage it ought to slice off to try not to deplete the battery. However, you can change every mode, changing the responsiveness for occasion identification, both for movement and the underlying G sensor, and you can set a 90-second deferral prior to stopping mode kicks in. At last, you can pick how long the leaving mode runs. One more method for saving your vehicle's battery. Choices run from 30 minutes as long as 8 hours. Execution. It's not difficult to feel that 2 Kelvin goal is obviously superior to 1080p. In great light, video from both front and back cameras is quite sharp, with loads of detail. Nonetheless, for run cams, the significant elements are whether you can peruse enrollment numbers and other text. For the most part, you can on the A229 pairs recording when you stop it. Indeed, even with an Authority Viofo microSD card, I saw periodic relics and video separation, which was a slight dissatisfaction. The field of view is overall quite wide on the 2 cameras, that is proceeding to catch everything. Similarly as with most scramble cams, this implies enrollment plates aren't not difficult to make out on the off chance that vehicles aren't near yours. However, it's typically when another vehicle slams into yours that you need those subtleties. So that is not an issue. It's not difficult to utilize whether you need to change settings or survey film. Because of the double band Wi-Fi, you can watch cuts straightforwardly from the A229 without buffering issues. What's more, downloading clasps to your telephone is quick.